She's selling her lifestyle. So this is the whole move that Meghan's been making in the last couple of years, really, since since the abuse that came out on the Harry and Meghan Netflix show, and also Spare, that she's been trying to portray herself as this happy-go-lucky California girl. Here's my lifestyle. Here's my happy, wonderful life. Is it the case that we are only interested in Harry and Meghan when they dish the dirt, when they appear on Oprah, when they write books like Spare, and when they just become fronting a lifestyle show, that we're just turning off and thinking, well, that you're not the personality, this interesting personality that was slagging off the royals that got all the headlines? Well,
this was the great experiment with this series. This was really her one big chance to sort of steer the ship in a different direction. Human nature is that we love gossip, we love salacious gossip, we love tell-alls. We do. People that even hate read Spare or hate watching Harry and Meghan, a lot of people just, there is an element of curiosity to that. I think they did the right thing in moving away from it, but as I said, the problem was that Meghan then needed to sell herself as interesting in other ways, and she hasn't really landed that. So I think that's the problem for them ongoing. I don't really know how they go back or reach anywhere near the level of success they've had from the explosive tell-alls and that sort of era, because now, she's faced with the problem that reviews all over the world are pointing out that she is quite boring on screen.
At least I know how to make a candle now. That's what, any time I need to make a candle, I know how to do it now.
As I say, we're not TV reviewers, we're not TV critics, we're royal experts, but could it have been a little bit better if the guest list was a bit better? Because we've reported today in The Sun, reported this week in The Sun, that they did struggle to get any A-list names. She's friends with Serena Williams, and Serena Williams wasn't there. You think she invited George Clooney and Amal Clooney to her wedding and the Beckhams to her wedding. There are people that she has claimed to have known, and none of them turned up.
Not even her husband turned up till the end.
Well, let's talk about
exactly.
that.
She's married. She's married to a prince of the realm here, and he didn't even bother to turn up.
I can see why there was parts. Yeah, I can see why she kind of had it a bit separate from him, but at the same time, she referenced him a fair bit as my husband. We all know it's Harry. You can just say Harry, but the only thing we learned about him, even just as a fun personal fact, is that he likes bacon and salt. Again, there's an opportunity there. He didn't even necessarily need to be a presence in the show, and it didn't need to be all about him. But let's learn more about you, Meghan, and your life with Harry, or this person that you're trying to sell us to. I felt like I came away from it. I know that Harry likes bacon and salt, and I don't think I heard his name once throughout the whole series.
The thing is, Bronte, would you watch it if you didn't have to for the job?
Oh, yesterday, absolutely not. It was a slog. It really, and I wanted to like it. I really have to say, I wanted to go, okay, this is the new direction. It's worked. And within 10 minutes, I was like, I can't believe how many more episodes I must watch of this.
Yeah. You mentioned about Harry. We did see him briefly, I think, in the final episode at the big brunch with all the friends, this big kind of celebration at the end of the show. Yeah. When I watched it, I thought maybe he looked a little bit uncomfortable. And what was your thoughts about seeing Harry at the end of the show?
I didn't bother to get to the end, to be honest, Matt. I had enough of it after one. It just, I was wasting my life watching it. I wasn't going to do it anymore.
It was you've used the word there, it was a very brief appearance. Again, I can understand why that may have been a decision they've deliberately made, but yeah, it wasn't, I would have thought maybe if he only popped up for a minute that it would have been very much to sort of have a powerful minute with Meghan and telling her how proud he is and how wonderful it all is, maybe. And I don't think we really saw that. So.
I don't really could face eating that cake. It was beautiful on the inside, or the streaky bacon, which he would have probably disliked. But I think he should have been there for the first time. Because sort of, she's what she is because she married him, and that show just doesn't stand up on her own with just her. No.
Just finally on the show itself, we obviously had the Harry and Meghan show before on Netflix. We've had Oprah Winfrey. How do you think the royal family would treat this show? How do you think their reaction is? They haven't said anything yet, but do you think behind closed doors they're talking about it? Are they relieved that it's kind of scandal-free? What's your... You know the royal family quite well. You know the King and William. What were they...
Well, if the King told me he watched it and liked it, I'd be surprised. But I don't think he would anyway. But, I think, look, it's one of these things this criticism is going to do. A lot of people are going to watch the show to see for themselves. So probably... Netflix will get probably good ratings at start, but look, the royals are not going to comment on it. It's just be interesting to see what our Queen says about it, because she's quite a good cook herself. But whether they comment, I doubt it, Matt. In many ways, I saw it just because I was wanted to talk about it. I had to do a piece for the paper this morning about it. I wouldn't have bothered watching it, but there are people that are interested in that. But, I watched Mary Berry cook a cake last night, and it was brilliant. And Meghan's no Mary Berry, and that's the end of it. And if you want to watch a cooking show, get someone who can cook. Jamie Oliver, Mary Berry, there's so many of them. And I just thought that was just all false, just false.
I think the royals must be relieved that they don't really have to react to this one, because really there's not, for once it really actually felt like it had nothing to do with them in that regard.
Now, Arthur's already touched on this. I think your view is that it's unlikely to get a second series. I sound like Alan Partridge now. Will I get a second series? Will I get a second series? But Bronte, what do you think? Do you think there's enough in there to merit Netflix continuing with this contract? Because Netflix could look at this and say, look at all the reviews, the contract's going to run out at some stage. We are in deep with them, with Meghan, with As Ever as well, but could it be a second series?
Well, looking at the context of when she and Harry signed this monster Netflix deal, which is apparently worth somewhere around £80 million, but it ran for 5 years. And at the time that they signed it, it was very much an era where Netflix was doing these big deals. That is no longer the case. There has been quite a restructure. The streaming industry looks very different now than it did back then. And obviously they'll be reviewing all of this. They're paying very close attention to all the money that they're spending. And for that reason, I think there is a very big danger, given that Harry and Meghan, the show, was really the last big success that the couple had with their output. There's a lot riding on this series. I think a lot of people will have watched it, whether they hate Meghan or they love her, because there's, the hate-watching part of it as well. There's clearly interest, even though a lot of people have no actual admiration for her. But at the same time, that won't carry through for a season 2. That would be, the hate-watching element would be season 1. So I think there's a great danger that the deal won't be continued, or certainly not in the numbers that we've seen, the number that they signed with back then. And Harry and Meghan sort of need to keep these big deals going because they have a very expensive lifestyle, particularly with security and everything. So I think it is in danger, yes, of being axed or significantly reduced.
Where would they go, Arthur? So if Netflix suddenly say, well, they were literally funding their first 5 years of their life in California, where would Meghan and Harry be left?
Well, eventually they're going to run out of ideas, aren't they? And people are going to not be interested. I mean, that's the thing I think will happen. People will lose interest in them completely. I mean, at the moment, people will be obsessed with reading about Meghan. You look on social media, it's all about Meghan and Meghan and Meghan. And, when read the papers, it's all about Meghan. She seems to be attracting the publicity and so on. But eventually it'll fade, I think. I think she's given it she gave it her best shot yesterday. It just wasn't good enough.
So we touched on this earlier, but As Ever is wrapped up into this deal, into this TV deal. We've got the show that we've been watching, and we've got her As Ever brand. So we have all kinds like teas, flour sprinkles, shortbread cookie mixes. Do you see that taking off and selling on the back of this show?
I do feel like they are inextricably linked. And again, once this initial interest and hype of the release of the show dies down, which I think will happen quite quickly, particularly fueled by these terrible reviews, I got to say, I don't think it looks great for the brand then off the back of that, because she really needed to sell herself to sell her wares. And I don't think she's been able to do that here. So I don't see this becoming a raging success, to be honest.